Cities are designed to evolve, and Dublin has seen more than its fair share of rapid change over the past decade. But what does and should this change look like? Are particular kinds of development inevitable, or can we question why and how they are happening?
Guys, if you can just sit down, we're shutting down the whole city.
Dublin is a city in the grips of a multifaceted housing crisis that's having a devastating impact on many who are homeless or scrambling to keep their heads above water in a rental market that has seen 6 consecutive years of rent increases and where rents are now 34% higher than ever before. The city is also in the midst of rapid gentrification. Expensive restaurants and bars are opening, cultural venues including nightclubs are closing, and the high cost of housing is making the capital less livable for low-income workers, artists, creatives and casual workers. All of this combines to ask the question many are posing these days. Who is this city for, and where is it going?
I think the big trend since I've been on the council is how little has happened, apart from things like student housing and hotels. In terms of building houses, either by the state or privately, it's been almost nothing.
Councillor Ailish Ryan is a member of the Workers' Party of Ireland. She represents the North Inner City area in Dublin City Council. She says so much of the development we're seeing right now is because of how the term residential is defined by planning regulations.
So land is zoned for certain uses, and that's really the only way we have to prevent the entire city being used just for commercial gain. The residential zoning actually includes certain kinds of apartments and student accommodation in it, and so there's a huge kind of flexibility for a developer under the residential zoning, and I think that goes to show the influence that commercial investors have over how the city is developed.
You can build a hotel and call it residential?
Certain kinds of hotels, yeah, like apart hotels and things like that, yeah. And
that's
well, it's
a
kind
bit
of
a joke, isn't it?
Oh, it is a joke. Like,
what is that development doing to the city, do you think?
When you think about what's the purpose of a residential zoning, it's to build communities. Like, you know, it's not just that somebody happens to be spending a night there, it's that it builds a community.
So this is kind of the fun hangout space. So there's a games booth in there, so PlayStation booth and an Xbox booth, cinema room in here, so they can put on movies, protection from glare while they're studying, while still allowing natural light, as well as blackout blinds for sleeping.
I remember a good few years ago writing a couple of things about how we needed student housing, and now we've built it and I'm complaining about it and you're complaining about it.
Yeah, we now have in just the North Inner City alone at least 8,000 beds of student accommodation, either gone up or going up. When these complexes came to be rented out, it turned out that the rent is about €1,000 a month for one bedroom. You know, we're not just asking for student housing, we're asking for student housing. What is it that students need? They need it to be affordable, they need it to be reliable. I think the investors know that the shortage is so great that the state will figure out a way to effectively either subsidise them or allow lending in order for students to be able to take on that debt themselves.
We rarely actually hear from the people who make these decisions about planning in the city.
It's very simple and it's
Well,
elegant.
that one's simple, yeah. Kieran Rose is a former senior planner for Dublin City Council who was responsible for the planning of Dublin 8 in the early 2000s.
All of these buildings that you're looking at here now, student accommodation, the hotel and so on, they were all vacant sites for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic to see that kind of development taking place in the area. What's not good is the lack of apartments being built.
Why can't these be housing?
You mean why are the developers not developing them?
Yeah, like what if we look around this and all these there's builders everywhere and they're putting up these big massive blocks and they're for student accommodation, like why isn't this like permanent residential housing?
That's a very it's a complicated issue. Basically, I suppose, is because they make more profit.
Yeah.
You know, if it was more profitable to develop apartments, they would.
Does the planning office can it say no, you have to build housing instead?
Not on the entire site, you know, because as long as the use complies with the zoning, then you can build that. And in the city centre around here, it's a mixed-use zoning.
Housing activists say stuff like, you know, the council should make compulsory purchase orders on, you know, vacant sites. Can it just be seizing land to make social housing?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can. Yeah, the CPOs can be, and that's what they were intended for. In many cases, was to provide housing.
So why isn't Dublin City Council using them? Is it an ideological thing then? Like, does the council not want to be pissing off developers or landowners?
Yeah, I think there is. I think generally we have too much tolerance for property owners when they keep their sites or their buildings vacant.
There was 5 vegetable shops here. Now there's only 1.
The Liberties is a historic working class area, traditionally seen as the gritty soul of Dublin street life. In the past, students who came to live here, according to business owners, haven't necessarily visited local businesses. And now there are efforts to integrate them. Local historians James Madigan and Liz Gillis brought students newly arrived from the US around the Liberties on a Meet the Shopkeepers tour.
I suppose it started in March and I gave a talk to about 50 of the new students. And I was kind of shocked to realise that only one of them, after being in Dublin for over 2 months, only one of them had bought something in Mead Street.
Over the last 12 months, 4 or 5 shops that were here for over 50 years have closed. And we had one of the best greengrocers in Dublin. He retired because he was squeezed out because of the Lidls and the Aldis. The local young people born and reared around the area, they can't afford to buy the houses. We don't know what's going to happen with all these students. Like, there's thousands of them. But we wish and hope that it will be something very positive. And I have a very good feeling about the place that it will be good and positive. Enjoy yourselves when you're here. This is the greatest spot on earth. There's nowhere like it. The Liberties. It's wonderful.
There is huge redevelopment going on in the area and communities aren't being built anymore. And that was one thing that really made this area so special, was the community.
If you need to ask anything, don't go any further than come to me. I'm over there on the plants and all that, and my son is here. And we'll help you in every way we can, okay? Nice seeing you all.
It's not just neighbourhoods that are being gentrified, nightlife at large is too. For those who want a capital city to offer a sense of creativity and edge at night time, Dublin often disappoints. Clubs such as Hangar, District 8 and Pod are being redeveloped as apart hotels and offices. Sunil Sharp is a Dublin DJ with an international profile who's part of a bunch of people trying to emphasise the broader importance of nightlife to our economy and our culture. We're standing in front of the site of what was Hangar. What do you feel about the state of nightlife in Dublin now?
I think it's at its lowest point that I can remember since I've been involved in the music scene here. We used to have loads of venues. There was so many different ones to choose from, but we've got to the point now where we've less than a handful. For a capital city and for a city with the musical heritage that Dublin has, and a country with the musical heritage that Ireland has, it beggars belief, really.
How important is it that a nightclub like this has been knocked down and that others are under threat, such as District 8?
Well, I think it forces a lot of creative people to think about leaving the country.
What would you change to improve nightlife culture right now in the city?
I think there needs to be a loosening on the regulation around nightclubs and give them obviously more flexible opening hours, later opening hours. There could be multi-purpose venues during the day. There's a lot of short-term decisions being made with no long-term vision for the city and the nighttime economy. I think it helps sell our city.
The frustration with all of this, particularly the housing crisis, has birthed a protest movement. A coalition of ordinary people, left-wing activists, repeal and marriage equality veterans, students, pensioners, renters and everyone in between have been taken to the streets and occupying buildings to demand change.
Nearly every second or third doorway in Dublin City is full of homeless people.
Ireland is the corporate state. Once you have money, you can come in and exploit people.
The idea for me of buying a house is laughable. Even the idea of paying rent is difficult enough.
I'm doing it with the help of my parents. I'm 43 years of age.
It has been lying vacant for many, many years. The activists who occupied it told me that it could easily be restored.
Dublin should be for everyone, but perhaps those struggling with rent and with finding a creative, social or cultural foothold in the city are increasingly seeing it as a place that's drifting away. Whether this is inevitable or not, the conversation about Dublin's purpose and who it's accommodating figuratively and literally is happening right now. As the journalist activist Jane Jacobs once wrote, there is no logic that can be superimposed on the city. People make it, and it is to them, not buildings, that we must fit our plans.